Another week, another show of Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. Thanks for tuning in. Got another good show lined up for you this week. I know you'll think so after viewing it. Keith Duncan going to join us here in just a little bit. Recent former Hawkeye kicker Keith Duncan will be joining us, as well as former Hawkeye quarterback James Vandenberg, and then Sean Bock sitting in for David Eickholt, the Hawkeye Insider this week. That being said, you know our regular contributors, Craig and Stacy Schroeder with Fight with Flash. Craig, Stacy, how you doing?
Good.
Doing great today.
Yes.
As always, same here. Thank you both very much. We're going to go to the web with Craig and Stacy and cover more with the Fight with Flash Foundation, the upcoming golf tournament, and talk a little bit more about our commitment with Dave O'Hara Sports and Hawkeyed with Fight with Flash Foundation, fightwithflash.org. And Craig's got a nice story for us, as well as Stacy with some information. So we'll catch you on the website with Craig and Stacy Schroeder and be back with more Keith Duncan in just a few moments. And as you can see on the screen, I've located Keith Duncan. All the Keith's information at the bottom of the screen, along with mine. Keith Duncan, yes, that Keith Duncan, recent former Iowa Hawkeye kicker. Keith, a rumor has it there's a game going on in Iowa City. We're in game week. We got so much to get to. You have an apparel line release with our good buddy Connor Whites with Zoark, and we had Keegan Murray on a couple weeks ago with his apparel line, and it was zoarc.co or at Connor Whites via social media. Again, all the Keith's information to find the apparel line as well. So first and foremost, thanks so much for joining us. And secondly, congratulations. And how's everything going with you, my friend?
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for having me on. It's been a crazy journey these past 6 months. Things are going really, really well in the Des Moines area right now. Have so much going on, whether it be football related or non-football related. So I'm just, learning the real world now. And it's been a great adventure so far and a lot of fun. So still figuring some things out and learning as we go.
I love it. And as you mentioned, with the kicking camps you have, you're relocated to the Des Moines area from Iowa City after your playing career. So talk about for us, if you would, again, all your information we're going to include again throughout this interview at the bottom of the screen of how to reach you for your kicking camps, but also your apparel line. So let's talk about after you finish at Iowa, your kicking career, and you chose to go to try to seek other opportunities outside of college. You could have come back. Caleb Shudak has now taken over your kicking chores, and Torrey Taylor still setting the world on fire with punting. And I'm going to table that for now because you're going to give us a scouting report on those two upcoming as you're smiling along with me here. But let's talk about your journey from the end of last football season to today, please, Keith.
Yeah, it was a crazy adventure. Again, like I said, the past 6 months have been kind of a whirlwind. Trying to do NFL opportunities and didn't work out how it planned, and still available for some phone calls if things were to happen. So that'd be great if the opportunity arises. But right now, I'm doing lessons out of the Des Moines area, making some trips back to Iowa City a couple times to also do lessons. I'm also helping out at the new Hawkeyed Northwest High School with their specialists. So it's been great just to still be involved in football, something that I have such a passion for, as well as, trying to help these kids learn more about kicking, the mental aspect of sports, and overall confidence, I think is something really fun to do and something that's just a passion for me. I'm so fortunate to be in this position.
And we're showing your apparel line throughout this interview. So we've got graphics of that. So I've got to ask you, with the pose and you're standing there with the arms outstretched, all of us Hawkeye fans, of course, know where that came from and why. So what are your feelings on Nebraska? As you hear me chuckling and I see you chuckling. So what a moment for you. But there's so many big kicks in your career. Luke Grove's a finalist, kicker of the year in college football, Big Ten record holders, Hawkeye record. I could go through the list of accolades, but as you're smiling so proudly, and you should, big kick against Michigan your freshman year. I get all that. A couple years, struggling and battling and staying with the team, and then getting, back with the team, being number one and getting full scholarship. But I think all that has to culminate in that graphic picture of you, which is now your logo. Talk about that for us, please.
Yeah, it's actually, it's a crazy, crazy story, like you mentioned. That Nebraska kick is something that I think a lot of Iowa fans just love to be a part of. And I think that's what college football is about, is really just being a part of something, just being so fond of a certain team, having those rivalries. Again, for Iowa, we're so fortunate to have at least 4 rivalries a year. So adding on to Nebraska, that being the last game of the regular season, that was just so much fun. Something that I hope a lot of people will remember, not because of me or anything what I did, but what the team did. So that was just a a great adventure and just having a little fun with it.
And I think that's the important thing that I want everybody to remember. I don't think it didn't appear to me, and maybe because I'm a Hawkeye fan, but if you look at it legitimately, if you don't have a horse in that race and you see your reaction, again, knowing your story, the culmination of emotions, I don't think it was you showing anybody up, in my opinion, and I think you just solidified that. But that's truly, as you mentioned, what college sports is all about. And the timeout, you made the kick. You've gone through that so many times in your life. We see that in college. We see it in the NFL, heck, in high school for that matter. So it's an exuberation and a culmination of emotion. Good for you. You're a young college guy, culminating your career. Again, I use that word culminating about 10 times now so far, but really that's the first thing that comes to my mind, Keith.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to have emotion involved in sport. Just means you care. It means you're passionate. I tend to show my emotion maybe differently than other people. And to me, that's totally fine. Nebraska fans weren't too happy with it. I've got some handwritten letters and everything. But again, that's what sports is all about.
You bet.
They did the same thing and their kicker did it. Awesome. We have more stories to talk about. So sports is just creating stories and creating memories for everyone to be a part of. And I think that's what makes it so special. And that's why everyone loves it. And that's why we'll see 80,000 people in Kinnick coming Saturday.
Yeah, I think I could not have said that any better. You hit it well, Keith. So let's go through your long journey of getting here, starting off in Texas, then you're in North Carolina, your parents, your family, your grandpa. Great sacrifice to get you to the University of Iowa, really because of Jason Baker, former Hawkeye special teamer, kicker, punter in North Carolina, was with the Panthers, and he convinced you to go to the University of Iowa, and I think, or told you to go, and then once you visited, I see you chuckling there, once you got here, there was no turning back. And you talk about commitment and what you've done, and again, it's well documented. Great freshman year, that big kick against Harbaugh in Michigan, 14-13 Hawkeye win your freshman year, 2 years behind Miguel Recinos, and then you stay with the team, you battle, not on scholarship, great expense, the great journey you had. And again, I'm going to use the word culmination again, but look what you did. All your hard work, your perseverance, it all paid off. And the last 2 years you had at Iowa, combined with your first year, I can't tell you again how proud I am to be a Hawkeye fan and have you be a part of the Hawkeye Nation, the way you battled and how well you did. It's two big stories right there, Keith. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. It means so much hearing that. I think it goes back to just the culture at Iowa. What I learned just coming in as a freshman is the culture. You do the right thing, you do the wrong thing. So it's one or the other. And fortunately enough, I had a great support staff around me that helped me choose the right way and just work every single day. I think it comes back to, like you said, Jason Baker. He not only helped me get to Iowa, but he also helped me get out of that rut that I was going through. Redshirt sophomore, junior year, whatever it may have been. Losing track now. There's so many years going on. But he helped me mentally, sports psychology wise, as well as, the kickers, punters, Coach Woods, Coach Ferentz, everyone in the staff it's a family. It really is. So I think the culture at Iowa is what makes it extremely special and why you see alumni coming back to games. I'll be there on Saturday, so I can't wait for that. And it's why people love this state and the university.
I think, again, you've hit the nail on the head, Keith. A few more minutes with Keith Duncan here as we wrap up. You got to give us your scouting report then. Got Caleb Shudak, who we've seen Caleb the last couple of years doing kickoffs. And again, of course, Tory Taylor. My goodness, what a story, after following Sleep Dalton, that rugby style or Australian rules football kicker, and you smiling there because a couple of characters there too in Sleep Dalton and then Taylor. But let's talk about special teams in the next minute or two, what you see with Caleb Shudak moving forward and also with Tory Taylor, please.
Absolutely, yeah. And as a specialist, I'm not one to come out here and say Caleb's going to go 100% and Tory's going to win the Ray guy. I hope and I can totally see it happening. But I can say for 100% fact here that those guys are working really hard. They put the time in the off season, and they're great leaders and team members as well. I came in with Caleb my freshman year, and I've seen him grow as a person, as an athlete, and he's helped me tremendously throughout my career. So I texted him yesterday. We'll have a phone call soon. I'll be there for him on Saturday. I'll be there for him for the rest of the year, as well as all the other guys. And again, like I go back to the culture aspect of Iowa football. That's what we're about. And I think it also goes into what Coach Woods has really brought into the special teams room is the, like you said, culmination of everything together. People helping people, Hawks helping Hawks. And I think we're starting to see that in the special teams room. Special teams has been top 3 in the nation the past 3 to 4 years. And a lot of that is because of Coach Woods and the time we've spent in practice, the effort that we put into the off season. All that is huge. So Caleb and Torrey, I hope they have a tremendous year. I'm going to go ahead and speak also about Austin Spiewak, our snapper. Yes. Another 6-year senior that came in with me. He grinded it out, has been a walk-on too for a while, and has just really, really worked hard. So he's done a great job, as well as Ryan Gersande, who's held the last year. Again, that position's taken for granted. So he's done a tremendous job, and he's my MVP, at least for last year as it goes. Those guys have been a tremendous help in my career, and I just wish them the best this year as well.
And I wouldn't ask anything more of you than that. Like you said, to sit here and prognosticate they're going to make X amount of kicks or punt for X amount of yards or average, I think you handled that very well, and I couldn't agree more. To see the camaraderie and the closeness, and hey, it's okay. We're overusing the word, but it applies. Culmination, but also the other key word for you I'd love to talk about is perseverance. So, Keith, great stuff from you. I look forward to hopefully whenever it works in your schedule later on this year to have you back. Again, his apparel line is with zoark.co, or again, all the social media at the bottom of the screen for Keith and for me. So Keith Duncan, former Hawkeye great kicker, thank you, my friend, so much, and we look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks, Dave. See you soon.
You bet. Look forward to it. You're welcome, and thank you. For Keith Duncan, I'm Dave O'Hara, back with more Hawkeye, and James Vandenberg, former Hawkeye quarterback, back with more in a few moments.
When you want the highest yields, you need the best technology. Hi, this is Joe Merschman. Merschman Seeds is one of the most innovative seed companies in the world, providing unmatched advancements in seed treatment. Plus, our sister company, MS Technologies, is putting customers like you at the forefront of soybean genetics. Innovation is what provides faster, more even emergence every single time. For the highest yields, Merschman Seeds.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Chevrolet. We've lived through some very interesting times the last few months. Ensuring everyone's safety is more important than ever. That is why we're participating in the Chevy Clean program. At your request, we will pick up your vehicle, service it, and return it after we've cleaned it using the current CDC guidelines. This is just another way to work towards exceeding your expectations. So give us a call and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. As you can see on the screen, my buddy James Vandenberg. Pleased to always have him join us. Going to get into it, folks. It is game week. James and I have been talking about this for a couple of weeks, so now it has arrived. First and foremost, James, former Hawkeye quarterback, is with RBC Wealth Management, CorridorInvestmentGroup.com. You see all of James's information at the bottom of the screen, along with mine. Short introduction today, James. Let's get to it. It's game week. Thanks for joining us. How you doing? You excited? You ready?
I'm good. Yeah, we're all ready for some football. We got a little bit of taste over the weekend, but now we need the full serving.
A lot of people's days were made here in Hawkeye land with the Huskers losing to the Illini, as you're referencing or alluding to as you chuckle. So let's do this. Let's get into it. James Vandenberg was a quarterback going into the same situation, relatively speaking, as Spencer Petras is now, and that was about 8-9 years ago. What did James Vandenberg go through that's going to be similar with Spencer Petras? Take us into the mind of Spencer Petras, please.
8-9 years ago. We got to quit saying that, Dave. That hurts. That cuts deep. Let's just leave that part out going forward.
A number of years ago.
No, I mean, you get to game week now, and well, obviously there's the anticipation. You're back in school, which is another interesting aspect of this. You just came back for your first week of school, but the overall pace has just gone from now grinding it out, hating each other during camp, to a unified plan against somebody else. And so it just has a completely different pace to it. And yeah, I mean, this is why you came to Iowa, to play in Big Ten games against good teams. And so everybody will be looking forward to that.
Tom Allen is the big name in college coaching circles, leading his Indiana Hoosiers in against Kirk Ferentz, number 18th ranked Iowa Hawkeyes, hosting number 17th ranked Indiana Hoosiers. Iowa State looms large next week, number 7, and Big Ten pregame is going to be there. It's a Big Ten Network game, premier game at 2:30 kickoff at Kinnick. So what else is Spencer talking to some of the underclassmen about, especially on the offensive side of the football? You've got a leader in Tyler Goodson at running back and an all Big Ten returner. You've got a preseason All-American and probably a Remington Award winner in center, preseason All-American center Tyler Linderbaum. I presume they're going to lead their troops or their guys in their group, but Spencer's still going to lead everybody. So talk to me about those 3 guys. What are they going through with their guys?
Yeah, no, they're all kind of doing exactly what you said. They're leading their individual groups, with Spencer and Brian Ferentz and Coach Ferentz ultimately being, I mean, really the leaders of it. But I mean, I think from Spencer's perspective is you just got to realize that, you know, things aren't going to go perfect Saturday. It's just how it goes, especially first game of the year, new people being incorporated. It's just, you got to know that it's not going to go perfect, and you got to be ready to bring guys along as things go bad, whether that's dropped passes or fumbles or people going the wrong way. Just, you're going to have to work through some of that stuff week 1 as much as any time that's going to happen. And so mentally just knowing that, like, yeah, you're playing a good team. They've got good schemes. They've got good players, but then it's Big Ten football and it's the first week. So let's hope it's not as sloppy as, I mean, maybe some of the stuff we saw last weekend, but it's going to happen, and you're going to have to be able to pick those guys up along the way. So there's the X's and O's component of this mentally, but then there's just the mental of kind of playing a good opponent and things not going correctly. And I would think, I mean, he's running through that in his head, knowing that, you know, things do go bad and you got to get back up and go.
And that's where I was going to go with you. He did a great job of that this last year. First couple games, they stubbed their toe coming out of the blocks, losing their first 2. And, you know, a lot of people were saying, not a couple, but Spencer's throwing the ball too low, too high, too hard, too short. So as you mentioned, a lot of that has to become, as you roll your eyes, you know the drill. You got to kind of just, like you just did, roll your eyes and have it be white noise and focus on what you're going to do and improve. So again, there's going to be a lot of that, as you mentioned, this first week. But when you're in an insulated and isolated environment like that around your teammates, as you mentioned, a one common force going against an opponent, you really push a lot of that away and just move forward, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Those guys don't hear very much of that white noise. At least they shouldn't be hearing that white noise. I'm so trained from not hearing the white noise that even last year when you would bring up the white noise, I was completely irrelevant to the white noise because I mean, it's just everybody's going to have their opinion. It's a team sport, and this won't be on Spencer or Goodson or Linderbaum or anybody else if they win or lose. It's way more than that, and that's the core of Iowa football, and that will continue to be the core of Iowa football.
I love hearing that from you because I remember that last year asking you those questions. You're like, really? I didn't hear that. And yeah, you're so used to that being in the Ferentz, in that coaching circle that they keep the troops pretty closely guarded there, and a lot of information that they don't want it to get in, it doesn't get in, as you're nodding with me. So James, we're very excited. Kickoff, we look forward to a post-game analysis with you next week. Hopefully it's a victory over Indiana leading into the Iowa State game. So he is James Vandenberg, former Hawkeye quarterback with RBC Wealth Management and also CorderInvestmentGroup.com. James, my friend, thanks so much. We'll see you next week.
Enjoy the game, Dave. See you next week.
Thanks. You do the same. For James Vandenberg, I'm Dave O'Hara, back with more Hawkeye in a few moments.
Hi, I'm Joel from Tice Automotive Family. We're living through some of the most interesting and challenging times many of us have ever seen. Knowing who you can rely on is more important than ever. Many of us turn to our families to get us through, and the same holds true here. From our fair, upfront pricing to exceptional service after the sale, we truly want to exceed your expectations. So give us a call or stop by and let us show you what it means to be part of the Tice Automotive family.
Who do you trust to produce the best yield? A seed company that's chasing technology or a seed company that's writing the book on it? Hi, this is Joe Mershman. Mershman Seeds has been treating soybeans for decades, long before it was commonplace. We're the leader in technology, introducing Mershman Seeds' latest advancement in seed treatment, with an added fungicide to help produce a faster, more even emergence every single time. Who can you trust with your yields? Mershman Seeds, your friend in the field.
Welcome back to Hawkeye with me, Dave O'Hara. I'll introduce you to Sean Bock here in just a moment, our other Hawkeye insider. But I wanted to take a moment to wish David Eickholt, our Hawkeye insider, and also his mom, Valerie, and the rest of the Eickholt family, our deepest sympathies and condolences here from Hawkeye. David's dad, Ike, passed away last week after a long battle with cancer. So again, all our best to the Eickholt family. That being said, I introduce you to Sean Bock. Sean works with David. You've heard Sean referenced on this show many times with David and me. Sean's all his information is at the bottom of the screen along with mine. So first and foremost, Sean, you just came back from the Hawkeye presser. Welcome aboard. Nice to see you in person. How you doing?
Doing great. How you doing, Dave?
Doing well. Thank you very much. So Sean, let's get into it right away. No time for long introductions. You were at the presser. Let's talk about it. We talked offense with James Vandenberg, the former Hawkeye quarterback, recently, a segment before us. Keith Duncan, the segment before that, about special teams. So we got that all covered. You had a chance to talk to Dane Belton today, Jack Campbell, and also Riley Moss from the defense. Let's get to it.
Yeah, so the big theme when talking with the defensive guys today is the Indiana passing game. And, it starts with Michael Penix Jr., Indiana quarterback. He is what you call a playmaker. I'm not saying he's not going to be a guy that's going to move around a ton in the pocket, but, he's a big lefty gunslinger, a guy that season was cut short last year due to a torn ACL. And, just watching him on film, just seeing what he can do with his arm and, how he doesn't really get rattled and just how he's able to move around the pocket and, just make those impressive throws is really something to see. And, the common theme talking with those guys is saying, hey, we need to get pressure on them. And that's a big question mark with this Iowa team too, and the defensive line and the pass rush. And, I think the team seems confident about it. And, they're not going to say anything else, obviously. And, we won't really know until Saturday. But, yeah, it was just really interesting to see what their takes are and how they're feeling about it. And, talking about the receivers, too, for Indiana, those guys are some really good playmakers. Transfer from Florida State, DJ Matthews, Ty Freifogel, who was an All-American last year, definitely an All-Big Ten guy. Peyton Hendershot as well, who's a really big red zone targeted tight end. So Indiana's got its fair share of weapons on the outside. They're going to be a really interesting team to watch on Saturday.
I think the other interesting takeaway from today is you said Coach Ferentz gave some comments, and Gary Barta did as well, and not a lot there different. I know it's excitement, as Barta referenced in reference to the Big Ten Network's pregame show is going to be in Iowa City. The kickoff is 2:30 on the Big Ten Network, so a featured afternoon game, obviously. Number 18, Iowa, hosting number 17, Indiana. So let's talk about what Kirk Ferentz had to say, please.
Yeah, so there was a lot with Kirk Ferentz. We were talking about it before, and I was kind of thinking hey, maybe it wasn't really too much because, you don't really get a ton out of that stuff usually. Kirk's pretty good about keeping things close to the vest. And I thought one of the really interesting comments was Spencer Petras saying that, Petras from this point now is night and day compared to what he was last year. And that's in a positive way.
Yeah.
So just the way he's been able to progress this offseason and the way he's really been able to form that chemistry unlike he was last year. I'm sure Dave has referenced this on the show before that Petras was quarantined for 30-plus days last year and didn't even contract the virus. So just to see him get into a full groove, get into some chemistry with the guys, and just seem more comfortable and just playing more fast was really encouraging. Also mentioned the wide receivers. We'll keep it on the offense. Mentioned the wide receivers. Tyrone Tracy is obviously the number one guy. You got Charlie Jones, Nico Reganey. Mentioned that true freshmen Arlen Bruce and Keegan Johnson are going to be definitely in the rotation, as is Jackson Ritter, who actually is a walk-on from Illinois.
Wow.
So that was a really interesting comment. Also mentioned that Luke Lachey is the number 2 tight end in the offense for sure. Wasn't really a ton of doubt of that from the outside, but there were some rumblings of Elijah Elvern and Josiah Meeman potentially making that next level to potentially challenge Lachey for that number 1 spot. So.
And then you mentioned off the air to me that Coach Ferentz talked about some possible rotations with both sides of the ball on the line as well.
Yeah, so the offensive line, you have Justin Britt moving in at right guard for Kyler Schott. There's a possibility that Schott may miss another game or two outside the Indiana game, but there's a couple guys in the rotation that could potentially factor in there. I know Mason Richmond is one of them, who's also was getting some run at left tackle. He could play inside or outside. And then you have guys on the defensive line as well. I mean, that's what we said before. There's a lot of question marks with that group. And Ferentz likes the depth, but he realizes that they're a pretty young group. So we'll probably see 6, 7, or 8 guys, I would say, in that mix. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of how they go about it.
It will indeed, and we'll see you next week when David Eickholt will join us again, and hope to have you back whenever it works out as well, Sean. So good luck to the Hawkeyes, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
My pleasure. For Sean Bock, James Vandenberg, and to Keith Duncan, I am Dave O'Hara. Thanks to you, the viewers, for tuning in with Hawkeyed. Thanks also to Rob and Abby with Homegrown Media for getting us on the air as they do each week. And also, please stay tuned for just a second after the show for the rolling credits to give our advertisers and sponsors the credit and attention they deserve. So again, for the aforementioned guests, I'm Dave O'Hara with Hawkeyed. That's all from me. Thanks to all of you.